Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin of RBWins.com, and like every Monday, I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. Today is our college basketball betting edition. We're going to be taking a look at a couple of real good games to go on Tuesday, the 14th, and the games will be between Creighton and Providence, and also in Doug's game is Kansas and Oklahoma State. All of a sudden, the Cowboys on a nice run in the Big 12 as well. So, but before we get to that, just want to remind everybody to, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take a second to do so. And don't forget to give us a like at the end of the video, folks. We tape 5 days a week. This week, there's going to be 6 shows. Doug's going to be on a couple of these shows today. And, of course, on Thursday, we'll be covering some college basketball as well, because the NBA will be on the All-Star break. Anyway, Mr. Red-Faced Doug, how are you?
Yeah, I'm red-faced, not because I took Philadelphia and I'm embarrassed. I was actually at the golf tournament on Saturday here at Phoenix, and with 280,000 of my closest friends that were all there. Also, so it was the largest. Well, Friday and Saturday turned out the first time ever they had sellouts. Okay, for that, and so it was nuts, and it was a lot of fun. And as I mentioned to you off air, in my haste, looking to get out there to not get caught in the crush of people coming later in the day, I tried to get out there early with my friend, and forgot a hat and forgot sunscreen. And this is what happens when you do that. Okay, it was cloudy when I left, and so it just didn't dawn on me. And so that's what you get. So, but it was great. And for anybody that's a golf fan that's listening, I got up close and got a good look at Corey McIlroy or Corey. Yes, Rory McIlroy. And the thing was, so one thing that's interesting, it's one thing to see him on TV. It's another thing to see him in person. I mean, you can see on TV, he's really built, okay, and great shape and everything else. But boy, you can see where he gets his power from when you see him up close, because his hip turn is really strong, so that was different. And Scotty Scheffler, the guy that won it, defending champion from last year, I had never seen him in person either. And he's just a big dude. I mean, again, he's 6'3", 6'4", but he's just not skin and bones like some of these guys that are out there on the tour. So, so just those types of things are always interesting to see, and just missed by a half a hole of seeing Ricky Fowler's hole in one on Saturday. We were literally walking up to the 7th hole Saturday, and then all of a sudden we hear this large roar. so we just missed it.
Yeah, par 3, I take it, correct?
Yes, correct. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, glad to hear you had a good time. It was part of the festivities going on in your neck of the woods for Super Bowl Sunday weekend and Super Bowl weekend, I should call it, excuse me. And culminated with a really, really good Super Bowl. We were both on the short end of the final score, 38-35. I used Philadelphia on the money line. Even if you use them at 1.5, it doesn't matter. You lost the game. And, Doug, here's my thoughts. I think too much is being made about Patrick Mahomes and his performance in the second half. He had 84 yards passing in the first half. He had 100 yards passing in the second half. So slow down, folks. He only had 184 yards passing. The Eagles outgained him by 77 yards. They had an edge in time of possession just short of 12 minutes. And despite what the announcers claim in the second half that Andy Reid made all these great adjustments, which he made a couple, okay? Look, they had some sustained drives. Give him the credit. But the first half fumble return for a touchdown, and also that punt return that got returned inside the Philadelphia 5 by Tony. Those were unequivocally, in my mind, a difference. And that's the only way you're going to win that type of game against a team that's outgained you by 77 yards, had the ball for 12 yards or more, or almost 12 minutes more, and totaled over 400 yards of total offense against your defense. The one turnover in the game, and that was the killer. And it wasn't even like it was a forced turnover. Doug, your thoughts?
Right. I agree with you on that point. I mean, I look at it, there's well, there's some, everybody has a different opinion on this here. So, okay, here's mine is that I think the coaching was the difference in the second half. And I'm going to give it on two levels. Okay. I think that the alterations that were made at halftime by Kansas City were absolutely superior to what Philadelphia did. Philadelphia seldom, okay, when Kansas City got their offense rolling, they seldom blitzed. Okay. And so I know they had gotten there all year with four men. Okay, 70 sacks, third all time since they've been keeping track of sacks. But sometimes you just have to adjust. And I'll go to the perfect example of when Nick Saban went to Tua in the championship game against Georgia. Okay, just a huge thing to do, and crazy it seemed to do. But you know what? It won him that. It helped him win the game from that standpoint. And so why Sirianni didn't make those moves, I don't know. Okay, that's for him to worry about. And the other thing too that I thought, and this was something it made me think of it later, is the two biggest things going into the game were the ability of Philadelphia to rush the passer and their offensive line. Well, in the end, they had no sacks, okay, against Mahomes. And in terms of rushing yards, Kansas City had 153, and I think Philadelphia ended up with 118. And if you subtract the two quarterbacks rushing, then I believe it was 115 to 47. So what I mean about the thing that I had forgotten about, and this happens, it doesn't happen every year, but it happens more often than we realize even, is when one team is hearing about the other team being superior to them. Okay, they have 2 weeks of motivation to get fired up, and then the coaches of the position coaches or whatever player it is, that they're gonna work those guys, and they got 2 weeks to hear about it. They're going to be lathered up to play. Well, guess what? The Kansas City offensive line outplayed the Philadelphia offensive line, and just by and large, the defense did as well, especially against the run. So those two things, I look at those two things along with what you said. I agree 100%. The punt return was massive. The fumble was massive. And even I know everybody has their opinion on the holding call at the end of the game. Lots of ways you can go with that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to rule by the book, he did grab his jersey on the turn. Okay. It was within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, but still you can't grab a guy's jersey. Having said that, I've seen that not called more times than not, especially when it's close to the line of scrimmage like that, Doug. Most of the holding calls that really affect the play are ones that happen down the field, not within the 3 yards or 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. So the timing of the call would bother me, because you're looking at, okay, KC's going to line up and kick a field goal, get a 3-point lead. Philly's going to get the ball back with about 1:40 to go. Yep. They just threw
one timeout also.
It's still one timeout because they threw an incomplete pass on that holding call. I would have liked. I'm not saying that Philadelphia would have won the game, because they still would have had to drive the ball down the field, score, or to tie the game or win it. But you would have liked to see that type of finish, especially if you were in Philadelphia, or if you were just neutral and just a football fan in general. I hate when when you make a call like that could be let go at that critical a time of the game, in the magnitude of the game it is.
Yeah. And to your point, I want to be clear about this, is that with Ross, I'm presuming the same with you. I lost the game. Okay. That's fine. You know what? I lose plenty of games. That call, I did not have either personally that much money on the game in terms of the bet and or what the number of units I gave it out with docs, and I killed it on prop bets. So I was already good to go for a very good day on Sunday for the Super Bowl. So I was good. But as what you're saying, Ross, as a fan, or for anybody that was a fan of the game, we had 58 make great minutes of football.
Yeah.
And then that one play changed everything. And for the people that say, well, no one play decides the game. Well, generally speaking, that's true. But there are instances, and this was one of them, where one play did decide the game. Okay, and there's no other way to look at it. I mean, that would be true of any game that's in that late. And to your point, exactly, it would have been so much. I know if Philadelphia would have won or tied it and whatever,
would have been easier to live with if they didn't win the game and that call was let go.
Right.
Secondly, you're right, Doug. One play doesn't decide a game, but that certainly seemed like it did. I'll elaborate on that a little further, and I'll say that one call prevented football fans from seeing an even more fantastic finish, because at that point, Philadelphia had to use their timeout. It was 2 kneel downs, taking it down to 8 seconds after the field goal, and the game was decided. There was no real drama. And Jalen Hurts, I'm not sure what happened on that last throw from his own 38, but he wouldn't have won a Pop Warner. Whatever.
No, he would have beaten Andy Reid when Andy Reid was 14. If you remember the old video,
punt, pass, and kick competition.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
he would have lost to Andy Reid decidedly.
Yeah, exactly.
But now here's one other thing though that mystified me at the end of the game. Okay, I don't get your thoughts on this. Okay, so I actually had forgot. So they had the ball at the 38. Is that correct then?
Yes.
With 6 seconds to go. So 6 seconds to go. Are you telling me that they don't have a pass play, okay, of any sort to pick up 20 yards, okay, or even 15 yards from that distance with 6 seconds to go? So they got a 5-second play.
I agree.
I was mystified by that.
I'm going to take at least one look at a 20-yard out, 15-yard out. I know that maybe they were taking the sideline passes away. I doubt it, because look, I mean, I think they could have at least tried to do that. And I think where you're going with this 20-yard pass would have at least given Elliott a chance to come out. And he's got the leg, you know what I mean? Give him a shot from 60, 65 yards,
I mean, crazier things have happened. Well, and it's real simple, okay, in terms of what you do. Okay, I don't remember if the ball was to either side of the hash mark. I honestly don't recall that, but it doesn't matter. You go trips left, okay, you do that, and then you have either a wide receiver or your tight end on the right-hand side split off. You force them to cover four guys with 3, and then you have one-on-one with the guy on the right side. And so you see how they line up. Hurts makes the decision, and you throw the ball, okay, to whatever you think is going to be your best option. You only got 5 seconds. That's what you do. But to not even try that.
Doug, and then I'm recollecting right now, because I was surprised by the same thing. Brilliant minds do think alike. and it's proof in this particular instance. Anyway, got to make ourselves feel good. Anyway, but it looked like that was just what Philadelphia intended to do right from the get-go. On
they
that
decided,
play.
Right?
Yeah, he was just going to drop back, try to buy some time in the pocket, and then unleash. An NFL quarterback, for the most part, from his own 38, if he doesn't reach the end zone, it's going to be inside the 5 at least. And I don't know if he got hit, or his arm got hit, or his shoulder problem, whatever the case may be. It just was an all-around disastrous end for the Eagles in that regard. You had more than enough time to do what you said, but they didn't do it. They got nobody to blame but themselves. Jalen Hurts did have a great game, but that crucial fumble that was unforced obviously played a big part in the result. And give Kansas City credit. They in the postseason, and I still contend this isn't one of Kansas City's better teams that I've seen, even though statistically, offensively anyway, it is. And their defense, as many yards as they give up, they put pressure on the quarterback. But both, even Kansas City didn't get a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts.
Oh, no. The one thing I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm done with my thought.
Okay. The one thing they did do though that was good is that whenever he went, they always tried to force him to his left. And if whether it was right or left, though, they always had that linebacker that would run with him out to the side. So as he was trying to leak out, looking for a running lane or whatever, there was always that linebacker that was around the line of scrimmage, so if he decided to go, there was always somebody there. So Spagnuolo deserves credit for that. Spagnuolo, the Kansas City defensive coordinator, because that, they really did a good job and prevented more bigger runs that he could have had in certain situations. So
and
it's water under the bridge now, right?
Yeah, Spagnuolo. One final thought: Spagnuolo, you got to give him a lot of credit because he made some second half adjustments on the defensive side of the ball too. And let's not forget, this is the same guy that masterminded the Giants defense when they knocked off then undefeated New England years back in the same venue. And also, if you remember in the second half against the San Francisco 49ers, when the 49ers had a double-digit lead, I mean, their second half adjustments on both sides of the ball were spectacular in that big game, and they were, in my opinion, and as Doug alluded to, one of the deciding differences in yesterday's result. Okay, let's get to college basketball because I know you people are probably watching going, I tuned in to get a couple college basketball free picks. Well, folks, you know what? We're a podcast. We're just not a free pick channel. There's plenty of them out there where you can go and just get a free pick and watch a 2-minute video and not be any smarter than you were yesterday when it comes to sports betting.
And I will promise you one other thing, and I know Ross will back me up on this. We will not talk about NFL football for months now.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
And I ain't. You have my word.
And regardless of Doug might think, I ain't talking any XFL football either. So
I know he's disappointment to me, but what can I say?
Anyway, Doug does like to dabble into the XFL. Myself, I'd rather watch a cartoon. Anyway, so college basketball. We got 2 big games here. Let's start with you. Oklahoma State, all of a sudden showing signs of life, Doug, down the stretch. Got to be really impressed. They're physical. They play good defense. They don't play at a fast pace. They don't wow you on offense, but they do enough. And they're going to be hosting Kansas. And Kansas, if they've had some difficulty this year, it's been on the road. Not on Saturday because they manhandled Oklahoma on the road on Saturday. What's your thoughts going into this game?
Yeah, in this one, so, like you said, number 5, Kansas, Oklahoma State's red hot right now. Kansas was outplayed back on February 4th, decidedly at Iowa State, speaking of being on the road. But they bounced back. They had an impressive win against Texas, and then they followed up with Ross talked about with another impressive win against Oklahoma. And now they're in second place as we go into, and we're doing this on Monday, as we go into Tuesday, right now they're in second place, 1 game behind Texas. The one thing that I think I have got a pulse on with Kansas, it's kind of how Bill Self's teams play in the first 5 minutes, particularly in Big 12 games. If they are running, if they are working the ball to get good shots on offense and then making them, they get back on defense better. They're more active with their hands, and they're more apt to win and cover. If these same players, start the game walking the ball up the court, and all of a sudden they're leaving wide open shooters, they're giving up lanes to the rim for guys that are the opposing teams they're driving, and invariably they either lose and or fail to cover. Now, in Oklahoma State's case, they lost by 14 points at Austin recently and gave up 89 points. Since then, 5 straight victories for the Cowboys, covering the spread 4 times. And one thing that's easy to forget now, they started 2-5 then in the conference, in the Big 12. Now, they were still playing good defense, but their offense really struggled to get the orange to go through the nylon. So that was a big problem. But since that bad defensive effort at Texas, Mike Boynton's team, the coach, he's got his guys playing the type of defense they have all season long again. In their last, during this win streak, 62.6 points per game given up. But offensively, they're doing a much better job sharing the ball to generating better shots. And in their last 6 starts, they're averaging 73.6 points per game. Okay, so much improved offense. Now, Kansas won the earlier matchup between these teams, 69-67 at Lawrence as a 10-point favorite, so they didn't cover. And Kansas, in true road games, is 5-3 straight up and against a spread. And if they're a road favorite, they're 4-2 straight up and against a spread. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, 11-2 at home, 9-4 against the spread at Stillwater. Now, they've only been an underdog once. Now, speaking of underdogs, Ross and I are both in the same boat again. It's just like we were last Thursday. There's no lines out as we do this video. So, he let me know, and I found one other thing, that Kansas will likely be either -1, a pick, or +1. That's the most likely scenarios for this one. And I would actually like Oklahoma State in that situation. I'm sorry. If Oklahoma State was getting, let's just say, up to 3 points, I would say they would be the play. But if this game ends up being at that number, either either side or a pick, even though Oklahoma State's playing great, Kansas had a few struggles on the road. I got to take Kansas. I think they're just the better team. They have the more of ability to score in different fashions. Also, I think, because it is a Big 12 game for them, and now there's something, we're getting towards the time of the year where you really have to start to play well. If you want to do something in the tournament, I'll take Kansas at those numbers. But I tell you what, if it ends up being 2.5 or 3, I have to say I will likely look to play the Oklahoma State in this one then.
Yeah, so not to be confusing, folks.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, just trying to give the scenarios.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, you explained it well, but just to rehash, we are taping at like around 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, and much to our chagrin, despite the light schedule in college basketball on Monday, and we are taping on Monday, there are no college basketball lines out yet for Tuesday. Now, what I have found is KenPom has been very accurate in terms of they have something called Fan Match where it predicts final scores. And if you you paid the $19 at KenPom for the year, and you go to Fan Match, they give you the results and what they predict the final scores to be. And in this one, they would have Kansas winning the game by 1, which they're more or less telling you they're a 1-point favorite. And the total fell around 137 with their prediction. So, again, that's all we have to go by on this video. I think I'll go out on a limb and say that we'll be in the neighborhood. But like Doug said, in case we're not in the neighborhood and Kansas goes to a 2.5 or a 3-point favorite early in the day tomorrow, middle of the day, whatever the case may be, he's more inclined to go with Oklahoma State, the underdog in that situation, than if it's a pick'em or Kansas -1. He likes or +1. He likes the Jayhawks. So
yep.
There you go, folks. And unfortunately, some things are out of our control, and getting lines early in college basketball today was one of them. All right, I'm going to take a look at the Creighton and Providence game. And that goes at 7 o'clock. By the way, Doug's game will be on ESPN. The Creighton-Providence game will be televised by Fox Sports at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Both games go on Tuesday, the 14th. Doug's game, I think that tips off at 9 p.m. Eastern, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, but yeah, I didn't look. I have to be honest. Yep.
That's okay. Well, something's got to give in this matchup. Creighton has won 8 straight, and Providence is 13-0 at home, Doug. So I'm not willing to bet against either one of these teams in this specific situation. So I'm going to be looking at the total. And when I went to KenPom, they had Creighton as a 1-point favorite in a total of 143. So let's work with that total of 143. And you're looking at Creighton. They're coming off a 56-53 win. Their most recent victory in this 8-game win streak, and that came on Saturday. It was at home against UConn. They've allowed 62 points or fewer now in their last 4 games. I think when people think of Creighton basketball, they think of this high-flying 3-point shooting team that scores in the high 70s, low 80s. And, at times this team has shown that capability, but what's the vastly underrated part of Creighton's game and why they're having success right now is the fact that they play very good defense, and people don't realize that. So keep an eye on that, especially against a team like Providence. It's not like Providence is terrible offensively, but they're not dynamic to the point where you're scared of getting into a game where a team could hit capable of hitting in the high 30s with their three-point shooting. That's not Providence's style. They wear you down. They also play great defense. As a matter of fact, in Big East play this year, Creighton, according to KenPom, is the number one team in the Big East during Big East action when it comes to defensive efficiency. In Providence, they ranked number 3 in that same category. Both teams really don't play at a brisk pace. I've seen each team play at a fast pace, but that's if they had a willing dance partner. So they're both versatile in that regard. But since both don't play at a fast pace ordinarily, I'm going to say this is going to be a slower pace game. You might see in the high 50s in terms of field goal attempts on each side. And Providence is one of those teams that doesn't allow you to get to the free throw line much. Creighton is tremendous from the free throw line, but they don't get there as often as they would like. So I'm going to go under the total here. Again, the projected total by KenPom is 143. I would say, folks, I would go under even if it got down to 141 or if it was around 141. Anything 141 or higher, let's go under the total. But like I'm saying, the current total right now, according to KenPom, is 143, and that's yet to be seen where it will be tomorrow morning. So keep that in mind, folks, that we're taping 24 hours in advance, and when you view this video, these lines might not be anywhere close to what we're saying right now. I think we'll be in a neighborhood, but as always, we'll grade the picks on what we gave out at the time of the show. Sometimes that works for us, and other times it doesn't. Anyway, Doug, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you on that game. You know, again, because Creighton is just, it's odd to see them not having I mean, they have some games where they do score a lot of points. They've had enough games now where they haven't. Now, some of that's to do with injuries, and now they're fully healthy. And that's been a big part of this win streak that they put together. But, I mean, Providence can slow anybody down, okay? Yeah. And Providence annually is as physical as any team in the Big East. Along with that, so far this year, is that normally this is where Providence starts to fall apart, okay, on the season. They have a tendency, kind of like what West Virginia does in the Big 12. They kind of sink a little bit, and this team isn't. Okay. And it's not like it's a great team. I mean, I have to be I've seen better Providence teams, but this one, from the standpoint of the players running with the team, listening to the coach and doing everything that's necessary, I'm impressed with how they're playing. But yeah, I can see a real, not a grinder necessarily, but just a lower scoring affair, with both teams in the upper 60s, Ross. So, yep, I'm going to agree with you on that one.
I really like Ed Cooley, the head coach at Providence. Yes. He seems to get the most out of what he has. He seems to be one of those coaches that adapts well to the personnel he has. He doesn't try to fit square pegs into round holes kind of thing, for lack of a better phrase. And, he had success at Fairfield. He came to Providence. A lot of people weren't thrilled with the hire at the time, but boy, oh boy, he's perennially, year after year, made Providence a contender, not only in the Big East, but, they're a contender. It seems like they're a contender to get to the Sweet 16 each year when you go into the NCAA tournament. So, again, something's got to give here. Providence 13-0 at home. Creighton has won 8 straight. Creighton's won their last 3 on the road. Keep in mind, though, folks, those road wins in this current 3-game road winning streak, which is within that 8-game win streak, came against the likes of Butler, Seton Hall, and Georgetown. And those are pretty much, I wouldn't say Seton Hall's bottom of the barrel in the Big East. They're 8-7 in conference play, but they're not a NCAA tournament team as we speak. And you look at Georgetown and Butler, and they're a combined, 6-24. So, and prior to those 3 games on the road that they won, they lost their first 4 on the road. So a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the side. Folks, stick with the total, go with the under, and then Doug Upstone, like he said, he gave you his opinion. He likes Kansas within one certain parameter, and if they get up to a 2.5 or 3-point favorite, he's going to switch gears and take Oklahoma State. Unfortunately, we're at the mercy of the odds makers who don't feel like working today, unlike us, to work after the Super Bowl, right? Doug, tell the folks once again how you've been doing of late and where they can find you.
Sure. It's Doug Upstone at Doc Sports, and so the NHL is back in full swing here, and I've hit 20 of my last 33, and that record would be even better because of the 13 losses that I suffered. 6 of them were in overtime. I'm not mad about it. I'm just stating a fact. Okay, from that.
I'm not laughing at your loss.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's just I don't know how else to look at it. It's just a fact. Okay,
Yeah.
if I split those, my record would be certainly even better. Okay, than that. College basketball. I've actually this weekend I spent a lot of time. I have to admit I have not been happy with my college basketball. Spent a lot of time looking at a variety of things. I'm looking to make a big push. Okay, to get to the end of the end of the season. So that's what my goal is with this. And so I'm working heavily on that. And in the NBA, haven't had a lot of plays honestly recently, but 3-1 the last 4 that I've had. Not a big deal from that standpoint, but it's just a fact. And so looking to get something going, even starting tonight on Monday night with some more NBA action, Ross.
There you go. So you can find Doug over at docsports.com. Folks, there's no other way to cut it. I'm a transparent guy. We're both transparent guys. Everybody on this channel is transparent. If they weren't, they wouldn't be on the show. Okay, quite simple. And I'm transparent. I am coming off a horrific weekend. I mean, Doug and I had a talk on Thursday. He was telling me he was impressed what I was doing in college basketball, and that was a kiss of death because I went 3-6 on Saturday. Anyway, the last time I came off a terrible weekend actually was, unfortunately, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, excuse me, and I followed that up with a 12-3 week. So, folks, you can count on me to bounce back in a big way. And until the next time, Doug will be back with us on Thursday. We'll be talking college basketball at that time. We'll have 2 free picks in college basketball on the Friday card. And I'll be back tomorrow morning with Jesse Shule of jesseshule.com. Until then, folks, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for viewing. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a like. Take care and God bless, folks.